Music for your tape recorder. I hope you will enjoy it.
So welcome to another Electronic Cafe Celebrates edition. In this one, we're looking at the rather brilliant Dazzle ships by Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. It was their fourth studio album by the guys, released in the 4th of March 1983. I know, again, I just keep pinching myself that that's really 40 years ago. Its title and cover art allude to a painting by artist Edward Wadsworth based on Dazzle camouflage titled Dazzle Ships in Dry Dock at Liverpool. This has been recognised as one of the great underrated works of its era. An album ahead of its time. It didn't get the best of reviews when it first came out, but it's obviously weathered that storm really well and become pretty much a cult album. It was it's in the AV Club's Hall of Fame. It was included in the Chicago Tribune's 10 Essential New Wave Albums and music journalist Paul Rowland's 10 Essential CDs of the 80s, among other distinctions. John Bergstrom of Pop Matters wrote, "It's becoming all too common to rebrand yesterday's commercial failures as overlooked masterpieces. However, Dazzle Ship's critical salvage job was well deserved." Quite as critic, Stuart Huggett charted the record's journey from 1983 release to a 2016 classic album, stating it features some of the band's strongest work, but it's likely to remain too off the wall ever to permanently join the general public's classic albums canon. Dazzle Ship has maintained, as I said earlier, a cult following.
Dazzle Ships was definitely a sharp right turn from its predecessor, the commercially successful Architecture and Morality album. The album used shortwave radio recordings to explore Cold War and Eastern Bloc themes while experimenting using montages of abstract soundscapes and sampled radio signals and broadcasts, exploring also the pros and cons of the rising technology in society, something that I feel is as relevant today as it was back then. Radiohead, I would say, have trodden a similar path at times. That said, the band themselves, to their credit, didn't want to replicate Architecture and Morality. Dazzle Ships pushed boundaries and contained the great singles Genetic Engineering and Telegraph, despite the temporary but dramatic halt it gave to OMD's glistening run of top-flight singles and chart domination. It is at this point where the band's pushing boundaries reached its furthest limit. Certainly worth a reappraisal if you don't know this album.
I think it's great. It is a grower. It's not as instantaneous as some of the other OMD stuff, which is also very good, but it is very distinctive, and I can see why it has created such a cult following. And I know a lot of people know this album inside out, but if you haven't heard it, check it out.